This conversation is powered by Microsoft Teams, a reliable collaboration platform over the past year. And we are so happy, or I am so happy, to be joined by Vince Williams, old school, which I love to refer to him. Tunch Ilkin so dubbed you old school because of your demeanor. Welcome, Vince Williams.
Oh, man, thank you for having me.
What a pleasure it is to hang out with you. You know, I remember when you were just a pup and you came into the league and, you know, you went through the usual growing pains, and now here you are, one of the defensive leaders of this team, one of the team leaders, period, and one of the finer defensive players in the National Football League. Now, I got to tell you, I watched training camp, and I remember sitting up there, and when you guys went through the phase 1, phase 2, and then finally phase 3, I remember the phase 1, and you guys were wearing hats. I said, wait a minute, I don't ever remember training camp having hats during practice.
Oh, yeah, that was a new experience for us right there. I wasn't used to it. You don't get those days in Latrobe.
No, you don't get those days indeed. You know, the defense, Vince, has been such a huge part of this team this year. I mean, you guys have really been stalwarts, and it's been one of the best units in football. Talk a little bit about the pride this unit has, defensively speaking.
It's really more of just an understanding of the expectation. You know, everybody out there, we know how talented we are, and we know what it's going to take to win games. You know, last year we felt like without Big Ben being out there, we were fighting and we were scrapping. But a lot of those chances, a lot of those games, we didn't really have a chance because, you know, we just didn't have that leader on the offensive side. You know, you didn't have Big Ben back there. So now, you know, we can't miss out on having a healthy Hall of Fame quarterback, and everybody understands that. So the sense of urgency is really through the roof on our side of the ball.
I find that interesting. You bring up that maybe a smaller window, a sense of urgency. You have Big Ben, like you said. It is a call to urgency, is it not, this year?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, just being an elder statesman of the team, being one of the oldest guys on the team, I understand that you don't always have an opportunity. You know, sometimes you're just not in it. You know what I mean, Wolf? I mean, people don't want to say that, but sometimes you're just not in it. So you have an opportunity to be in it. And to be in the fight, you have the talent, you have the coaches, and you have the Hall of Fame quarterback. You got to capitalize on things like that.
You know, it's funny because one of the beautiful things about playing for this organization is more times than not, you're in it. You got a chance at it. You have that ability to get into the playoffs and so forth. You're always powered with the people that you need to get there. Yeah, sometimes you fall short and so forth, but the fact is, it's a beautiful thing in this organization that year in and year out, you guys have that opportunity to be in the mix.
Absolutely. You know, if I've been here, it's only been a couple times that I can even look around and say, like, oh, we just depleted through injuries and things like that. But without that, the Steelers organization is always going to be fighting to try to get a Super Bowl. That's really our measuring stick. Anything else is pretty much a failure.
That's a high bar, man. That's really cool. Now, Vince, you have continually, since you came here, you have continually exhibited, in my opinion, an upward trajectory both in your play and your leadership skills. Tell me a little bit, how important are both roles to you as a leader and as a player?
Well, I mean, it's real simple. You know what I mean? I play with the best front seven in football, so you just really got to do your job. Everybody's like, oh, Vince, you have all these TFLs. I'm like, do you see my defensive line? It's really easy when you're just running through the gaps and tackling the person with the football. But from a leader perspective, you know, I just kind of just echo what I already know to be true. And we have such a great culture and a great foundation here. We have a great leader in Mike Tomlin. And I don't really have to say anything extra. You know, it's already exhibited. I just have to carry out my life day to day as, you know, a veteran Steeler player. And people are just seeing how we operate, how I've always operated, and it kind of just rubs off on them.
You know, speaking of the TFLs, you're one of the league leaders week in and week out, and I continually see you get that downhill bang. Gadzooks, man, what is it that causes you to fire so fast on some of those run keys? I mean, you come through, boom, and all of a sudden you're there, and everyone's talking about the downhill bang of Vince Williams.
Well, it's really just my defensive line. You know, Tuitt, Tyson, and Cam, those guys, you gotta double team them. You know what I mean? So me understanding that as a veteran player, I just play off of them. You know, I see these guys getting double teams. Either you're going to come off of this double team and Tuitt's going to make a TFL, or you're going to stay on them and I'm going to run through and make a TFL. So I try to get downhill as quick as possible to make those offensive linemen make decisions on who they want to be in their backfield.
You know, the funny thing about it is one of the things I referred to earlier was You know, as a young guy, you were very feisty, and it's not like you're any less feisty, but you're definitely more controlled. You know, and I recall and think about back in your early days, you know, you weren't, you know, you got in a few scuffles. These things happen as a young man, right? So I remember one time at practice, you almost got into it with somebody. I remember you were about ready to hit somebody, and then you just went, and I remember you pulled off, and it was a significant moment because Mike Tomlin was standing there, and Mike looked at you and goes, oh, I think Vinny is growing up. And it was that moment. I thought it was funny because it really was a reflection of the fact that you have matured as a player. You've matured as a role model and leader in the clubhouse. And that moment really spoke loud and clear because Mike highlighted the whole thing. Talk about your maturation as a player.
Well, when I was just younger, you know, everything was just aggressive, hit, you know, but then starting to understand your role and how the NFL really works top down. I think that's where I started to come along. I think that my becoming mature for me was more of just understanding how I fit in this organization, understanding the people that played here before me and understanding what they're asking of me. You know what I mean? So now I'm not trying to bang guys up. I'm not in competition with anyone. You know, these are my teammates. I love on everybody. You know, instead of trying to smash running backs, I'm giving them hints. I'm giving them tips. I'm like, you know, usually I wouldn't even talk to the other side of the ball. But, you know, now I'm like, no, this is how you prepare. This is what you're gonna see. This is how linebackers view you as an offensive player.
Vinny, when you watch some of these running backs, they're getting so very good. They constantly talk to them about the fact you got to hug the double team and then hit the gap. But you're on the other side of it. You're playing that double team too, and you're playing peekaboo sometimes with some of the backs. What's that like? And how do you kind of go about breaking down a running back that you view coming up? Any running back, how would you go about breaking them down?
Well, first of all, to be honest with you, for me, I look at how many catches they have out the backfield. That's the first thing I look at. Is he going to give me a situational clue? You know what I mean? If this guy has more receptions and more targets than he has carries, that's going to completely change the way that I'm looking at the game. And then after that, I want to look at their running scheme, what they're trying to do with him. Is he a zone guy? Is he a gap scheme guy? Depending on those type of run fits, that's going to change everything. So those are the two things I really focus on. And then after that, it's really just attacking the line of scrimmage and helping my defensive line out to get them off of those double teams because we know the doubles are coming because they're too fantastic to not double.
Now, let me ask you this, because back in my day, some of the scouting reports also included, let's just say, noting that some of the offensive linemen had foot positions that kind of tipped off a play, you know, weight, hand on the stance, that sort of thing. Do you still go through that? Do you still look at guys? Do you still kind of look at some of those offensive linemen that you know and you go, oh, he's tipping that big time? Does that happen?
I mean,
not that you got to give it away. I ain't asking that.
Oh, yeah, you know, the tricks of the trade are still there. You know, savvy vets are still around, and I'm one of those guys. So any nugget I can get, I'm going to get it. You know, TJ is full of nuggets, too, so I try to ask him what he sees from the edge of the line of scrimmage. He's looking at lineman depth and things of that nature. But, you know, I'm always going to be a savvy guy. I'm going to keep my tips and my secrets to myself, though.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you got to hold your cards close to the vest, bro. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely.
All right, injuries are part of the game, unfortunately. I mean, we both know that. And the Steelers they've had their share on the defense. And, you know, linebacking position has been sniped a little bit. How do you keep the level of play so consistently high while undergoing some injuries to some good compadres of yours?
I mean, we just have a standard here. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but the way that things become cliche is that you make them real and they you know, they have longevity to them because the sayings, they come alive. And we really believe that here. Like, it's not going to waver. We're going to look at you and we're going to say, hey, you're the next man up and you're going to come out here and be able to play on this defense. And we have a standard for you. And this is what we're going to need out of you. And, you know, everybody that wears that Steelers hat embraces that. Sincerely, though, Wolf, like, not like playing. Like, they come in, they're like, man, I am ready to go. I'm watching film. I know what to do. I understand the intensity. And we're not going to let them slack. You know, the leaders aren't going to let them slack.
You know, one of the other things, too, besides the tackles for loss, that you really is part of your game, you also are such a good blitzer. You got a good pass rush going, man. Where'd you get your pass rushing skills from?
I'll tell you the truth. I don't think I've ever told this story, so you're getting the exclusive. But I like exclusives. This is my first year starting. And I'm talking to Kevin Colbert because I'm trying to shake this 9-on-7 linebacker tag that everybody's like, oh, Vince can't cover, Vince can't cover. And I'm like, man, Kev, I really need to get interceptions. Kevin Colbert's like, well, not necessarily, Vince. You know, to play on third downs or to be a complete linebacker in this game, you have to play the run exceptionally well, and you either have to add to the rush or add to coverage. And I was like, well, I'm struggling with coverage, so you know what? I'm just gonna work on my pass rush. You gotta play to your strengths. You gotta play to your strengths. So it's like, yo, I may not be able to, you know, guard Shady McCoy out in open space, but he's gonna have a horrible time trying to pick me up and pass. So
it's That's funny. That's a great story, man.
I just try to manipulate the game so that anytime I get an opportunity to blitz those guys, you know, I just really believe that no tight end or running back can block me, and I work on it so much that I've actually like fine-tuned it and got a nice little pass rush game. And, you know, I was like, you know what? I may not be able to go out here and lock down a number one tight end or lock down, you know, one of these third down possession running backs. But when I'm coming on a blitz, there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to block.
That's beautiful. That's a great story, man. Vince Williams, old school. I want to thank you for joining us today. I just think that, you know, you being able to just kind of give a little bit of the insight from where you are and your perspective. It's absolutely fantastic. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for joining me on Microsoft Teams.
Have a great day.
We'll see you, Vince. Have a good one, brother.